We have breaking news here on Seattle Seahawks today as the Seahawks have signed UFL running back Ricky Person Jr. of the Birmingham Stallions. Not just any person, but Ricky Person. And we're going to break it all down here on today's show. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Smitty's already dubbed him Pretty Ricky, which I think it's a pretty solid nickname if you're going to ask me. The news coming from Aaron Wilson, tweeting out the following just a little while ago. Choosing the Seahawks over multiple NFL offers and inquiries, USFL Stallions running back Ricky Person Jr. is signing with NFC West franchise per league source. Person previously with the Ravens and NC State football, rushed for 295 yards, actually 297, and 6 touchdowns, including a 100-yard game in the championship, and has 150 total receiving yards. I don't hate this move by the Seahawks to go with the former Raven and NC State and Birmingham Stallions star. Small sample size for Ricky Person this past year in Birmingham, but with the opportunity that he had with this UFL squad, he made the most of it and looked pretty good. Showed enough flashes where if you're a team like the Seahawks, you say, yeah, let's bring him in, let's give him a shot and see what he's made of. So let's tell you more about Ricky Person Jr., undrafted in 2021, out of NC State, had a short stint with the Baltimore Ravens, and then the last couple of years in the UFL really made the most of his opportunity as this past season he led the United States Football League in rushing touchdowns with a total of 6. And if you go back to just over the weekend in the UFL championship game there in St. Louis, he was a big part of helping the Stallions get their 3rd straight title. Didn't matter that they merged the league with the XFL and all that. The Stallions still found a way to get it done for the 3rd straight year as he rushed for over 100 yards in that championship game. Was a big part of their success there and getting the job done over the weekend. What is your one-word reaction to the Seahawks signing Ricky Person Jr.? I'll give you my one-word reaction coming up in a moment, but want to hear from you guys first. Weigh in on our pinned comment today and let us know what that is, what your one-word reaction to Seattle signing Ricky Person Jr. Folks, this is why you subscribe to Seahawks Today. No signing is too big or too small for us to talk about here on the channel. Doesn't matter if they come from the UFL or the San Francisco 49ers. We're going to bring you a video as quick as we can here on the channel with the best Seahawks coverage you won't find anywhere else. We are on the verge of 52,500 subscribers, just 15 away. I don't want just 15 subscribers. I want 50 subscribers off today's video, folks. We're talking daily news and rumors, live shows, not once but twice a week. We'll see you tomorrow on Wednesday, also on Friday as well. Madden, Sims, Q&A mailbags. It is your one-stop shop for all things Seahawks. Subscribe now for free. Join the family of 12s, and you'll be glad you did. My one-word reaction is solid. This is one that doesn't cost you a ton. You bring in a guy to compete in a very competitive running back room. This doesn't hurt you, and by all indications of the UFL players that were out there, the running backs specifically, Person was just as good as any of them. You look at the statistics. Here's what we're talking about. In 9 games played this past year, he started 5, had a total of 93 carries for 297 yards, and also a very good receiver as well, 150 receiving yards this past season there in Birmingham, along with those 6 rushing touchdowns that we talked about as well. You go back to his career at NC State, and the numbers, not over the top, but you go back to his final season there in 2021, and the thing that stands out to me is that yards per carry that he had there with NC State with the Wolfpack. 4.7 yards per carry. That'll get the job done every time. That's the statistic that really jumps off the page there. And also at NC State, he was a very good receiving back there as well with the Wolfpack there a couple of years ago back to 2021. Now, I have said on this program that when we talk about the 53-man roster projection for the Seahawks of what it's going to look like, that I am hoping that the Seahawks carry 4 running backs on the active roster. We've seen some people think it could be 3. I am personally leaning towards that it be 4 because we have seen firsthand that the Seahawks have had their fair share of bad luck and injuries when it comes to the running back position over the years. Just recently, Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet were banged up. We, of course, know about Rashad Penny and Chris Carson. The list goes on, right? And with question marks on the offensive line, the Seahawks, I think the more the merrier to give them kind of some cushion of sorts makes sense. You have Walker as your RB1. We already know that. Zach Charbonnet, we expect to have an increased role this year. A lot of excitement about Kenny McIntosh sliding as your RB3. And then you got a number of guys competing for that 4th spot, assuming there is a 4th spot. I like Holani, the UDFA out of Boise State. You got Lewis, you got Williams. Person will compete there among the rest of them for that. So then the next question becomes, how can Ricky Person Jr. make this roster? And what I would point to, folks, is that in particular, what I'm looking for is his skills as a receiving back. Because the truth of the matter is this, folks. When it comes to the running back position, just like how you can never have too many pass rushers, you could never have too many receiving backs that, could catch the football. To me, that's always a plus that you'll take every single time. That adds a whole nother element to the passing game to have backs that can catch. And that is a strength for Ricky Person Jr. If he continues to show that ability, then watch out. Because you look at the size and all that, it adds up, right? 6'1", 220. He's still only 24 years old. So all of that makes sense. And then you add the receiving skills to the equation. Now, we're starting to cook with bacon grease here. And I say that he's got a shot to compete for that number 4 running back spot. But our friends over at 12th Man Rising think that they could take it even a step further than that. Maybe even be competing with Kenny McIntosh for the RB3 position. And here's why. Listen to this. Person is close to the same size that University of Washington running back Dylan Johnson was in 2023. Remember, Johnson rushed for 1,000 yards this past year with the Huskies and Ryan Grubb's offense. And that might be important. Ryan Grubb is Seattle's new offensive coordinator, and he was the OC for the Huskies last year. His main back was Johnson, who was a lot like Person. Here's more. Johnson could help move the chains, though he was not likely to break off 50-yard runs very often. McIntosh is a speedier back than Person, but he also might not fit Grubb's offensive scheme. He also could not stay healthy in his rookie season, and general manager John Schneider might have concerns about the player due to that. Based on recent injury history, whoever is RB3 for the Seahawks is probably going to get some valuable reps in 2024, as Seattle has had bad luck with backs getting hurt. So a lot to take in there of what 12th Man Rising had to say, but some very good points. And that, to me, the injury thing is the biggest thing. The more the merrier. With the bad luck that we mentioned, having multiple options there, that's where Person makes sense. The receiving threat that he brings out of the backfield, similar to Dylan Johnson in that sense. And look, Kenny McIntosh. I like Kenny McIntosh, but the injury concern, I think, is something that you can't just shake off, right? It's a realistic reality that the Seahawks have to live with here. So for me, I'm excited about this. The more I read into it, the skills that Person brings as a receiver specifically, and then having pretty good size and frame at 6'1", 220, not a whole lot of tread of the tires at 24 years old, I can live with this. Grade the signing. What do you guys think? A, B, C, D, or F of the Seahawks signing Ricky Person Jr.? I'll give you my grade here in a second, but want to hear from you guys first. A, B, C, D, or F. Whip out your red pen and let us know what you think. My grade, I'm going to go with B+ for this one. It's not an earth-shattering move, right? I mean, it's not like you went out and signed Derrick Henry here, right? But this is a move that makes sense, doesn't cost you a ton. The Seahawks don't have a ton of cap space to work with either. And you bring in a guy that's going to compete. It's not a guarantee he makes the 53-man roster, but it doesn't hurt you at all with this move. We'll see what the corresponding roster move is. With signing person, the Seahawks will have to move on from somebody else. That remains to be seen. At the time of this recording, we don't know who that is yet. But all signs point to this is a good deal for the Seahawks here. Subscribe now to Seahawks Today for continuing off-season coverage. Any more moves, any more UFL players, whoever it may be, we're going to break it down, talking about it here on the channel. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/SeahawksTV. Let's get 50 subs off today's video. Make it happen. I'm Tyler Jones. We'll see you next time.